Hey everybody, Faraday here. I wanted to ramble a bit today about the Yggdrasil Divination Deck. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not a great pronouncer of my own language, let alone Norse. Um, I know in the last video I said that I was going to do a bit on a series of videos on the elements. Um, and try to give a different perspective on those, and that's still in the works. Um, but as part of my daily practice, I always do a divination, and um, I don't do it so much to like get a peek at the future or anything. Um, Sometimes it can be helpful to know what the sort of energies of the day are. Energies. New camera, I can actually use my hands when I talk. Um, Mostly I do it because of wanting to have the sensation intellectually, physically, and emotionally of that connection to the divine, thus divination. Um, Most of the time I do it with tarot decks because I've got a lot of tarot decks. Not nearly as many as some of the tarot folks online here are, and I'm very jealous of them. And someday we'll have the money where I can have that many tarot decks myself. But I have a few. The average guy on the street would probably think that I've got too many or that I'm just weird because I've got so many tarot decks. But so mostly my daily divination is tarot, but I do alternate and do other forms of divination as well. I've got a pendulum, and I throw the I Ching, and I really like geomancy. I find it to be it can be very as easy as just a very quick yes or no answer, or it can be very, very detailed, almost but not quite to the level of astrology. Um, I do dabble a bit with astrology. I wouldn't call myself an astrologer yet, but I'm always learning and growing on it. And over time, I'm getting better and better. Um, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. I scry. I've got a crystal ball and a black mirror, and use a bowl of water. And um, I mix it up. I try to do a lot of different things. Um, this Yggdrasil deck. Yggdrasil is the tree of life in Norse mythology. It connects all of the Norse nine worlds where all of the various entities of mythology live. And it isn't a tarot deck. It's got 81 cards, and it's not divided into four elemental suits and a major and a minor arcana. Um, the cards are unnumbered, and they are divided between the nine worlds of Norse mythology. Um, which would be like the world of the gods, the world of the dwarves, the world of the dark elves, the world of the lighter elves, the hell, the world of fire, the world of ice. Although those are generalizations, it can be more complicated than that. They're unnumbered. The only sort of way of demarking them is they have these little tiny symbols at the bottom next to the name, which aren't going to show up good on the camera, obviously, which tell you which of the nine worlds they're in. They're in black and white, and the line drawings are incredibly detailed. It's sort of a shame that they're not in color, but at the same time, I think the fact that they're black and white makes my own mind want to um, fill it in, which causes me to engage with the card more fully rather than being a passive experience. There's a give and take, if that makes any sense. Um, this one that I just grabbed is Vidar the Berserker, the Warrior. And it's a picture of Vidar and a bear. Um, Not a great picture, and I'm getting some glare there. Um, if I remember correctly, Vidar may be one of the sons of Thor. I would have to look that up. Um, Although the symbol there isn't for Asgard. In any event, they're not numbered. Um, They are all characters or entities from Norse mythology, which is great. I'm not an expert on Norse mythology. I find it fascinating. I'm looking to learn more, and this is a fun way of doing it. Um, they're created by, I don't know how to pronounce these names, but it looks like Hauker Halderson and G. Hochstadter. Their father and son team. Hakor is G's father. It says they were both raised in Asatru. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, my fellow pagans, especially those of a Norse variety, that I don't know how to pronounce your name. If any of you ever see this and want to correct me in the comments and tell me how it's really pronounced, that'd be cool. Um, the the biggest well, it comes the book that comes with it, which is a nice book. I like it. It's called Bifrost, which is the name of the rainbow bridge that connects Asgard to Midgard. Midgard being Earth, where we live. Um, it's 208 pages. Um, it's got pictures of all the cards. Oops. It's very detailed about the mythology of all the cards and the stories of the characters, and um, it gives relationships between the characters and other characters. Um, it comes with a layout, which is basically the 9 worlds, and you draw a card for all the 9 worlds. Oh, I should say it also isn't an oracle deck. While it does say things on the cards themselves, like this one says beauty and vanity, and it goes with this Delling, who is a dwarf. Um, I suppose you could use it as an oracle card, just with beauty and vanity being the meaning, although the picture on the card itself does not necessarily lend itself to an explosive cosmic gush of the meaning the way that it sort of does, in my opinion, with oracle cards. And I like oracle cards. I've got plenty of oracle card decks too. Um, it's really a divination deck that's just a unique system to itself. Um, in any event, the layout that's given in the book is you draw one card for each of the 9 worlds, and then you sort of gauge your life and your question as the universe of these 9 worlds, and base the reading on the relationship of the cards to each other. And as I said, in the descriptions of the cards, some of the stories contain like who's related to who, who's whose father, who's whose brother, and if those relationships appear in your spread, uh, that affects the meaning, and it reinforces or weakens cards. Um, Whether or not a character is in the world that they belong in, or that they're from, or in some other world, affects what's going on. For example, in Norse mythology, Ragnarok, the end of the world happens um, as like the fire demon Surtur or Surt leaves Muspelheim to attack Asgard. So if he turns up in a place that's particularly propitious for him, it means much bigger trouble than if he just appears. Like if he appears in like the ice world, his force would be severely weakened. Um, it can get extremely complicated looking at all these relationships and the interactions of the cards in all the worlds, which I think is very interesting. I sort of approach divination with cards as telling a story. Like if you get your mind into the imagery and the characteristics in such a way that you're telling a story, eventually that story ends up applying to you, and the story and reality like overwrite each other, and you've got an idea of what the cards are trying to tell you, what the universe is trying to tell you, what your holy guardian angel is trying to tell you. Um, it doesn't have to be that complex, though, especially if you're in a hurry or you're just not that interested in Norse mythology. Like pull out this one. This is for SETI, and it says fairness and judgment under his name. Um, the fairness and judgment can just be the meaning of the card if you're in a hurry. You don't have to go look it up. You can just say, well, this card appears, it's fairness and judgment as a part of the layout. It still is better if you have an idea of what the various 9 worlds are, um, in order to determine if fairness and judgment is in, say, hell, the realm of the dead. Um, I guess that would make a certain amount of sense, but if you're looking for like fairness in, say, a lawsuit in here in Midgard, then it would be better if it were here in Midgard. So the realm of the dead is in many ways symbolic of the deepest, darkest part of the unconscious mind, and um, you have to think long and hard about, well, what would fairness and judgment mean there? Um, in any event, I like the layout that they have and the way they describe its usage so much that I will use it with tarot cards too. Above and beyond that, I use this deck all the time with my normal repertoire of tarot layouts, and it adapts itself to them really well. Um, you can still even use their attributes based on what world they're from. If a card is supposed to be from the world of gods, for example, and it's in a place in a spread where it's something that's like super conscious or divine, well, that's really good. If it's from the world of gods and it's in, one of the layers of the subconscious or something, or it's at a point in the part, it's in a part of the layout where it's talking about something that's deep in your subconscious. It's suggesting that there's this bit of the divine in your subconscious that needs to be paid attention to, um, and not mistaken for just a complex or something that's floating around aimlessly in the back of your mind. Um, I know I'm oversimplifying horribly all of these concepts: the cards, the 9 worlds, consciousness, subconsciousness, superconsciousness, all of it. I'm oversimplifying all of it, but that's, I guess, the problem we run doing these short videos. Um, in any event, the biggest problem with the deck is if you want to use the full story of the deity, it's really hard to look up. The devil or the table of contents only lists the 9 worlds and what page they're on. So you have to go to the card. I got another one here. This is Odin. Yay! Omniscient, wisdom, poetry, and language. Odin. I really like Odin. I think he's the biggest draw for me to this particular system. In any event, the little symbol next to his name there is the symbol for Asgard, I think. You have to go to the book, and towards the front of the book, but not at the very front of the book, around page 15 or so, you get these descriptions of the 9 worlds in the order of their layout, and with those symbols on it. So you got to find the symbol. So the first one is Asgard. Then you got to go to the table of contents, and that's a few pages in, and look for Asgard. And Asgard starts on page 19. Then you've got to look up Asgard, and the first page is always about Asgard. And then the first card in is, of course, Odin. Mr. Asgard, as he told me he likes to be called, Mr. Asgard. And as it turns out, this particular example that I drew at random was fairly easy because, um, Asgard is the first of the 9 worlds in the book, and Odin is the first of the cards in book in general, plus in Asgard, although not on page one. Um, and if you're doing a long reading or you're detailed reading or you're doing a very meditative reading, if you're using it as a meditative tool, um, stopping to thumb your way through the book to look through all of these it can be an enormous pain in the neck. I find it worth doing. I also find having a pain in the neck aspect of something like that to a meditation can sometimes be helpful. Meditation is to some extent synonymous with concentration, and the more I have to focus my mind, the more concentrated it becomes, the more meditative I become. Um, I would say it's probably absolutely ideal for somebody who's just in love with Norse mythology and already knows a lot about it. I think it's probably also ideal for somebody who knows very little about it and wants to learn about it, because here's this resource to learn about it and do divinations while you're learning about it. Um, for people who are very good at divination and want to do divination on the go and don't want to take the time to do it, as I said, you can still do it with just using the meanings written on the card. This one is Idwin, who I believe is the keeper of the magical golden apples that give the gods their immortality. And the words there say, magical youth and rejuvenation, right under her name there. You can see the cards sort of glowing. They really are beautiful pictures. They do not come across well on this camera, probably because they got the cheapest camera that they make, and because the detail is very fine, and it really stands out in the black and white when you're looking at it in person, but the camera doesn't do it justice. Um, it's like getting a whole world in a box. Speaking of the box, when they do unboxing videos, which this isn't, but when they do, they always spend some time looking at the box. Oh, we'll spend some time looking at the box. It's a good box. It's a good size. It's hard. Um, it opens by flap, and the flap is held down by a magnet. You can't see the magnet because it's covered in a white material similar to the box itself, but it sticks right now. I mean, you can't open that without a real yank. And then it's got the cardboard inlay, and you've got the ribbon so you can place the cards down. With a ribbon so you can place the cards down and pop them out. I like the box. It's one of only 2 or 3 decks that I have with where it's still in the box, and most of the other ones are going to go in a bag someday. It's just the boxes are still new and fresh enough where I haven't wanted to, you know, lose them yet. Because once I take them out of the box and put them in the bag, I'm never going to see the box again, even if I love the box. Um, Even if I only love the box because the picture on the box is cool. Oh, they also on these videos talk a lot about the backs. The backs are all the same, and that's them. Sort of a stylized kind of Nordic knotworky sort of thing. To me, it's sort of reminiscent on all the paths in the tree of life, um, all the branches and leaves that connect the various worlds. In fact, they're sort of like, again, hard to tell on the camera. I don't even know which way to move my hand to get it closer to the camera. If you look real close to the right and the left, it's like there's 2 pillars, almost like the Kabbalistic tree of life, and then all of this growth between them all. Don't underestimate the force. That noise is, I have a timer on the computer that tells me when the magical hour changes. It's the hour of Mercury on the day of Mercury, which is a good time for doing something with Odin. Um, And I'm a magician. I like to know what magical hour of the day it is. Um, Normally it's not turned up that loud, but I was listening to something that was low volume. And no, I don't underestimate the force. In any event, I don't know that something like the fact that Idwin's the description says magical youth and regeneration is necessarily going to do a lot for you in a divination if you're not going to look her up and see the full story, but it might. Um, I will just look at those brief descriptions when I'm in a very big hurry. So I do my magical work in the morning before work, and Um, Sometimes getting up takes me long enough that I then find myself having to rush through some things in order to get to work on time. Um, I find it works much, much better on a lot of different levels if you actually use the book. Um, I find that it can touch you on multiple levels. Like the pictures can draw things out of your conscious mind and from your unconscious mind. But as you get more and more into the relationships, the deeper you can go, and the different layers. Like in these nine worlds, there are several that, to me at least, say subconscious or unconscious. I know those are different things in technical terms, but it can lead to both. And it seems to me like I hadn't always thought of it that way before, but when you look at the nine worlds, the way the cards interplay with them, it's almost as if there are different layers of the subconscious that are doing different things. Like um, the realm of the dwarves is where things are made, and it's just it, it's like it's somewhat below and adjacent to the earth in that you access it through mountains here on earth. Um, and you can sort of look at it as a traditional mythological underworld, or you can look at it as a place where spirits that are craftsmen work, which fits the mythology well. But the more I work with the cards, the more I think in our self, it's sort of the realm of physical body, the interior of the physical body, that part of the subconsciousness that controls the autonomic nervous system that builds the cells and pumps up or lowers down the immune system when it's needed or not needed, that digests the food and makes us hungry when we need food, um, and that does, to some extent, then the dwarves in these readings could be seen as spirits of our own body working to maintain our own personal universe, and it would certainly be good to be on good terms with them, but they're not all very nice. Um, on the other hand, you could just as easily expand that out into the broader world and um, as a way to subconsciously connect and through the subconscious consciously connect to actual earth elemental dwarves or fae who are craftsmen and builders who live in mountains and in caves and underground. Um, I think there's enough detail in the stories in this deck where it gives you that wide of a range of access to parts of yourself and parts of the world and the worlds beyond us. And I thought that since I was using this form of divination this week, that I might as well do this video while I was thinking about it and put off the elemental videos that I was planning on doing one more time. Um, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have comments, please comment below. And uh, I look forward to maybe hearing from some of you someday. And thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.